Hey, so I'm here with Ben Alford from Aram in New Zealand, and today we're going to talk about the asbestos industry, what makes a good company culture, and everything in between. Hey, Ben.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Paul. Great to see you again as well. Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
love having these conversations from the opposite end of the world. It's awesome.
yeah. It's quite good for us because it's quiet, so there's not anyone here listening to me. Yes, yeah,
So we were just talking before this recording about the social media clips you've just been doing.
yeah.
That must have been a nice change for you. It's something new you're doing. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, like I said previously, it was more about making people understand more about what we do at the same time as just kind of walking through people, but step by step, where asbestos is, the issues that obviously we have on site. And not only that, there's a lot of awareness issues in New Zealand. So people actually watching those clips will understand that possibly asbestos is in their homes. Yeah,
Hmm.
and they where to look for it instead of actually sometimes having to ring us guys to tell them, oh, do you know where it is? Yeah, so I'm looking at more of an awareness approach initially, and not only at the same time, just more of a bit of a getting us out there a little bit. To be honest with you, a
Hmm.
bit like this conversation we're having here now. We're quite a small family company, so having those clips and that idea of actually promoting ourselves a little bit in the market has actually helped us a lot. It's helped us, and if anyone out there who is a little bit nervous about doing that sort of thing, I mean, I really recommend it. We've had a lot of phone calls from clients, specifically just wanting to know more, yeah, about Aram as well. Yeah,
Well, you're certainly not lacking in confidence, Ben. I've always thought that about you, and
yeah.
you'll always get stuck in and try something different. I love that about you. Um, so is that taking you out of your comfort zone doing these clips, Ben? I mean, I guess you've always worried about maybe getting some flack from the community and things like that. What do you reckon?
Um, Yes and no. I think I'm a bit more mature in life to kind of take that stick now. If you
Hmm.
spoke to me 2.5 years ago when I met you, no, 3 years actually now since we worked together, I would have probably been a bit nervous, more about like how people thought about me and what like what's he doing on the internet? You know what I mean? Yeah, he's no Brad Pitt. But like, but from that point of view, actually, no, I don't get nervous anymore. Actually, I've been offered to go on a couple of these, and I've actually just not had the time. But I've always wanted to do this with you anyway. So I do feel people getting to know when they get to know you, you actually make you puts the business not only yourself quite a way forward. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not nervous at all anymore. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I think you come across really well, Ben. I've seen some of those walkthrough videos you do when you're walking around a site and explaining what you see. And I guess for anyone on the outside looking in, that's a great testament to your experience and showing that you really know your stuff. So I'd like to just ask you. Obviously, you went from having quite a stable job just before the lockdown to starting up your own business. Why did you decide to start up your own asbestos surveying business, Ben?
Uh, Working for people. This is that sound quite arrogant. Doesn't actually work for me. I actually did it because I feel, and may sound arrogant to people out there, that I feel that I could probably give a service which no one else could at the time in New Zealand. Now, I'm not saying the UK. I could compete with that service because the UK is a lot broader and there's a lot more experienced people that like me out in the area in the UK. But I feel like in New Zealand it needed something a bit more practical. And when we obviously started up with my previous business partner, we did very well. Uh, and kudos to us because we did a lot in a short space of time, and I was quite proud of what we achieved. So yeah, I think personally it was more about trying something new, not about the asbestos side as well, because the more I wanted to diversify out, but it was more about can I go and do this, and we did, yeah, and we're very proud of that, yeah.
You did, and you had a stellar growth from what I recall. That was sort of around about the start of the lockdown, wasn't it? And I remember you went from two staff to over 10 in what seemed like no time at all. It was kind of crazy. What do you think was instrumental to that stellar growth?
Like I said to you, just being real with people about the issue, not panicking people about what we're like asbestos or any hazardous materials. I feel like a lot of people go down the very fear mongering route. Uh, like in the day you've got a problem, We're here to fix it. It's like anything. We're problem solvers more than actual. Like we're not here to scare you. Do you know what I mean? We're here to actually help you and actually get rid of a problem. I find a lot of asbestos consultants, specifically in New Zealand, can create havoc. Yeah, and organisations can suffer for that. And that's not being disrespectful, but it's just the way that they are. They just don't really understand that. They don't have the experience to understand the steps they need to take to and actually look at the risk. So yeah, I think that's why we grew. I think we also understand people a bit, so we talk through problems. We
Mhm.
don't run away from them. And my dad's always said, if you've got a problem and you run away from it, I mean, you're never going to get anywhere. So I feel that's why we were so successful at Consultex, yeah, and with the other guys as well, and they're still successful now as well, which is cool.
For sure, it was great to see you and Will build that company together, and
Yeah.
yeah, it seemed like you guys are unstoppable even now. You're still unstoppable. Yeah, we laughed about it, my brother and I. We said, our Ben's created a new company. He wants to stick around the sort of 1 to 2 mark of surveyors. He'll not. He'll keep growing, and
Yeah,
that's his
yeah.
playbook.
I just can't help it. Like I tried to step back, and it just no, it wasn't for me. So I've just accepted it now. I just could accept it. We have to grow.
Do you think
Yeah.
that's down to having a good growth mindset, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's about. Yeah, I agree. I think you just hit the nail on the head. You have to have a mindset on growth. I think you have to look at a goal. You have to try and achieve it, and if you don't achieve it, then you have to try again and again. And I think that's something that uh, I've always tried to do. I've always moved on step to step. Whether if I didn't, and also I think one of the things you need to figure out for yourself is when something doesn't feel right. And I'm a big believer in this. You move on and then you try again. You know what I mean? Until you get it to make it feel like it's right for you as an individual. Because I'm a big believer that if you only live once, then what's the point of doing something that makes you very unhappy? Yeah, you might as well keep going and going and going and going until you find the right note. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's interesting, and that brings me on to my next question about company culture. So I'd like to ask you, what do you think it is that makes a good company culture? Having now launched your second business, I'm guessing you've got some insight into that.
Yeah, I've also got insight previous companies that I've worked for, that I've moved on from. It's for me personally, culture all depends on the individual. So if you want to be a corporate culture and people enjoy that, enjoy the corporate lifestyle, enjoy the way things look, the way the things are, I mean, they're more about the design and the model, then yeah, absolutely, yeah, it's perfect for them. Me personally, I'm more about bringing people or set goals on improvement of individuals, or my partner, who is Pacifica, she had a goal to improve the Pacifica community and actually train Pacifica employees, which we have. We have 5 Pacifica employees, and so they've actually gone from like being like trainees to actual hazmat consultants through training, and we've brought them on along for the ride. So I feel like the business that we've developed is actually giving them opportunity instead of me working for the business to put all my money into the business and actually acting like the business is the thing that I should be the focused on the most. So I've actually flipped it with my mindset. The business actually we develop is there to give me the opportunity to go and do more things in the community. So asbestos was the way forward. I'm trained in it. I'm an environmental scientist, so we do other things like mold, but asbestos is big over here. So this is actually giving us an opportunity to actually go and progress people into a good job. Now we want to grow that, obviously, that division, but with that division, we also don't want to forget that we are trying to grow a KPI/goal of the Pacifica community or people who want to join us on similar stature. So we're actually looking at progressing people more than the business, if that makes sense, because people come first to us. Yeah, it's one of our culture values. Yeah.
Yeah, so talking a bit more about company culture, Ben,
Yeah.
what do you look for when you're hiring people?
Uh, so they have to be good at communicating. I can teach them the trade, but they have to be good with people. First thing I look at is people, people. They have to be able to talk to someone when that person is in distress or when it was causing not causing distress or is under distress or has an issue that they need to fix. That is the main thing that I look for. And I mean, I can teach the rest. I can teach the technical side quite easily. It's not a difficult industry to teach, but it's the ability to be put in a position and not panic and just be calm, collected, and deal with the problem. Or if you've got issues with that position, to be able to walk away and then just shout at me down the phone saying, "Why the hell did you put me in that position?" Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't want to wait for you again, Ben. But that is the fundamental thing that we look for, and that's why we train from the bottom. Yeah,
Hmm.
see, and we don't actually bring in competent people over here because it's quite spare. So like it's really difficult for us to find someone with that mentality that's not for the size of our business. You know what I mean? We need to find people who are willing to learn and willing to be able to be put in those positions. So yeah, that's probably what we look for the most, Paul. Yeah.
Hmm. So someone who's good with people, but also someone's got that thirst for learning. I love it.
Yeah.
We look for very similar things when we're hiring too. So it's interesting to hear that. Um, how have your priorities changed since launching your second business, then, Ben?
Uh well,
Or,
I,
or
I
have they
keep like
changed? I suppose is the question.
yeah, they have changed subtly.
Hmm.
Like I said to you earlier, the business provides for me. I don't provide for the business anymore. So I'm sat here obviously at night doing some work with you, but I don't work the hours that I used to. As in, like I work clever instead of just hard all the time. Do you know what I mean? I work smart. And the reason behind that is that I found myself getting very worn out on the previous businesses because this is actually my third business. I had a surveying company in the UK that I was just
Ah,
myself
okay.
self-employed back in
Oh, of
2000
course. Yes, I did know
yeah
that.
2000
Mhm.
2015 and both companies the same previous. I worked myself into the ground and at the same time I didn't appreciate what I'd achieved. So my previous managers used to say to me, "Oh, why don't you write down everything you've achieved?" And well, why would I do that? Because you go home at night and you whinge. So like, I write down things I achieved now. I actually look at what I've achieved. You know, especially me and Julie, Julie specifically with the lab because she's a big part of the business as well. And priorities is that I work with family now. I've never worked with family. This is the first time, and it's everyone says don't work with family, and it's the best thing I've ever done. Like I get to work with my wife, like basically my wife, and I actually go home with her, so we actually spend time together. So it's yeah, it's really cool because I never thought I'd ever do that, if that makes sense. And now it's like I can't think of anything better. Yeah, so yeah, my priorities are more family based. Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that so much, Ben, because obviously I work with my brother, and as you say, it's a great way to hang out, and you can never spend enough. You can never spend too much time with family. If you love being around them, it's great. And also, I feel like you take a bit of a shortcut working with family because you already trust that person. You already believe in them, and you're taking so many shortcuts to actually getting to know somebody. And I do think there's a lot to be said for working for family. I would hire more family if I had any more coders in the family.
But the thing is, like you say, like you're a prime example of working with family, and you've just said the same thing. You enjoy it. It's but how many times have people said to you, "How do you work with your brother? How can you work with your missus?" You know what I mean? Like, I've always get it over here. "Yeah, I can't believe you met with your missus. How do you do that?" It's quite easy. Like she's great to work with, and she tells me off if I'm doing something stupid. So it's a win-win. So she has the confidence to do that. You see, so it's great. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely a communication bonus there, isn't there? I can say things in a certain way to my brother David that maybe someone else wouldn't be able to say to him, or
yeah.
maybe they may be afraid to communicate in that way. So you can be brutally honest with each other at times. It's good.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
um, so one of the things I'm particularly interested in, Ben, as you know, is
Mm,
the asbestos industry and just how it's changing and
yeah,
just trying to understand it more, really. So, what do you think are the biggest challenges in the asbestos industry in New Zealand in particular at the moment?
yeah. So regulators can't regulate. There's not enough of them. It's not like the HSC in England. Not enough experienced people. The borders are basically shut all the time, so it's very difficult to get someone over. I'm trying to hire a contaminated land consultant from the UK, and going through INZ is the hardest thing in the world. It's they just ask millions of questions before you can even get them on the plane. Uh, it's just very difficult to maintain experienced people in a business over here, and because they get paid quite well over here. So if someone came in and get offered big money, I would never step in the way of someone in this office to change their life. Do you know what I mean? There isn't many of us over here at all, and the ones that are here, like the good ones, they tend to be in businesses. And they tend to have their own businesses, and
Hmm.
fair play to them. That's exactly what I did. Uh, so in some ways, that is probably the most challenging thing. And back to the regulator. The regulator, it just doesn't give you the support you get in the UK because I mean I think I've done God they'll probably turn up on my sites now, but I think I've done about a year and a half worth of work and I've met one work safe person in a year and a half, and I welcome them to come to the sites, but they just whether they haven't got the personnel just to come or maybe just we're not a priority yet. Or maybe we're doing our jobs too well, but it's very difficult really. Yeah, over here.
And I guess you've got a unique insight on the sort of difference in the regulation between the UK and New Zealand, having worked in both. Um, so do you think that's the biggest challenge at the moment? Where do you think are the future opportunities in the industry?
I think the future opportunities have to be that we look at the asbestos industries as a whole, regulation wise, and trying to develop something a bit more practical for businesses. Uh, the regulations were made in the new car regulations were 2012, but the initial regulations were in the late 80s. I mean, and they've not changed much since the 80s, 90s. Uh, I think diversification of asbestos consultants into hygienists is something that should happen. It's very big in South Africa. I think South Africa's got a fantastic model. So if you ever get one of these with a South African hygienist, yeah, they'll tell you about the level of training they go through. Uh, so I think the opportunity is diversification of the asbestos consultant into an environmental slash hygienist and given extra responsibility. Yeah, that's where I would say the market opportunity lays. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And how about different vertical industries, Ben? It's something I think about a lot. Are you going to be? I know you do work in mold and
Mm.
various other things. Are you going to be moving into any other of those industries in time? Do you think, or have you
Yeah,
got plans to expand any of them?
yeah. So contaminated land is something we've been looking at for the past 6 months. We've been talking to someone. He helps us out a lot from the UK. He's very experienced. That's something that's quite big. Brownfield sites and contaminated land. Uh, Mold up hygienist work. Yeah, would love to get into that. We do need more experience in our company. Uh, the mold side I'm quite competent on, but like I say, there's not many of us out there that I know of. I can't just pick the phone up and have a yarn with someone about a job. But yeah, contaminated land, Paul. That's where I would like to go. Environmental ecology and all that. Environmental impact assessments. Yeah, that's where I
That's,
plan to go.
that sounds really interesting. And will you have to bring in talent from the UK to do that, or will you have to train them up, or how will that work?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to bring talent from the UK. We need a SQUEP. It's called a suitably qualified experienced person who's a certified environmental engineer or certified environmental scientist. Uh, we will need to bring someone in, and we've got someone. If we plead to INZ if they're listening, obviously, if they could let him in. we would need to bring someone in like that, and that would obviously help us grow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff. I imagine that comes with its own challenges. You're not just asking someone to come join your company, you're asking someone to upheave their entire life and move to New Zealand as well.
Yeah, well, he seems very keen, so I think that's a nice. It's always a nice step in the right direction. I don't think he realised how remote we are because we're in the middle of nowhere. But no, yeah, it's very difficult to get someone to fly over. I don't know about you, but I guess you must like jumping. Like you went on holiday, I think recently. You must like jumping on a plane and go to Spain or wherever you went to with your beloved. So you can't really do that in New Zealand. You can't just jump on a plane and go to Spain. You have to. Next trip is either the islands are 4 hours away or Australia is 4 hours away. So it's always a long flight. Yeah, yeah.
It's so funny. You've just reminded me of this. One of our clients once rang me from New Zealand, and he was returning my call, but he was in a canoe. And it was the middle of the day, and he's just decided to go off and have a little canoe trip. And I thought it was just really cool to hear about that work-life balance that he had. He's like, oh, I felt like just getting out and being on the water for a while, and it's just like, wow, life is so different over there. Do you
It
find that as
is.
well? Do you find that the lifestyle is different?
It is, but I think the problem with English people is that we don't commit to the lifestyle as much as we should do. A lot of people I know, there's a few that do. So there's a few that have really taken to the lifestyle and 70% life and 30% work. But I think it's ingrained in us to continuously work on something. Yeah, so I wish I could commit more to it. Yeah, and hoping in the future, if we get Aram and it's more comfortable, and I'm just doing these podcasts with you around the maybe I could go and commit to it. But yeah, but like currently, it's really difficult. Yeah, so but that's the price you pay if you want to build something. Yeah, unfortunately.
So tell me, Ben, how has your life and work been affected by the recent floods in New Zealand?
So we were very fortunate not to be affected, but 4 houses down, they were clearing out all their stuff uh, a day after the floods. So we're just on a little bit of a slope, and I think it just washed downhill.
Right.
And it's I should laugh there, but it's from we were very fortunate. I do
Mm.
remember the day that it came down, and I was sat in the office like I am now, and it was like thunderous rain, and I started to look outside, and it was starting to go really high, and cars were starting to get stuck. And then it continued, and it continued, and it continued, and then we can I can is this kind of a blip when you go home and you think to yourself, Joe, is it as bad as if he was saying on the news? That thing we have in the UK, is it? Is it? It's like the political thing, because it's not affected you personally. And then we started to see we have worked for an insurance company, and the jobs just piled in. And then it was me and four others. We all got in the car. We all went, and and the destruction was horrendous. It it was quite sad to the point where you've got people who were being driven into hotels by insurance companies. Now, like I said earlier before we started, New Zealand's not set up for that type of thing. It's not got the social. It hasn't got the building structure or anything, or the social network or anything in relation to the actual services to actually deal with that amount of flood and issues across one area. And we found that people were very not sad, but very just she'll be right and get on with it. And that kind of made me feel a little bit, wow, your house is destroyed. You've got nothing left. Insurances are going to be struggling for the next 4 months, unfortunately, because just everyone's getting paid out. And you're just sat there and you're just shoveling out mud out your living room where you had your fire screen TV and saying she'll be right. You know what I mean? What can you do? And then that kind of like puts forward to me how I feel about the Kiwi attitude and how great it is over here, and how like your life's just turned upside down completely, and you're sat here with a guy who's just come here just to check for mold and asbestos, telling him, oh, she'll be right. What can you do? You know what I mean? It's life. Yeah, and we'll have to deal with it. And then they got on with it, and I think I had 4 or 5 occasions. One occasion I put actually on my LinkedIn. A tree fell through the house of a house. It was horrendous. And the lady who I've actually been speaking to about doing a bit of a interview with her. She actually turned around and was in the room and took her children out of the room of the fear of something, and the tree 2 minutes later came through the house.
Oh my
So,
word.
but she was just so, oh yeah, someone was looking down on us. What can we do? And she was taking photos of it. The kids were looking at the tree, thinking, hey, she'll be right. It is what it is. We have to deal with it. You know what I mean? And then I felt that quite amazing, really. Because me personally, I'm a bit of a flapper, so I would have probably gone crazy, and I probably whinged about it for 2 weeks before before I even done anything. So I actually feel like the floods, although it's not affected me, it actually was very destructive. So I'm quite blessed that someone actually looked down on us and actually said, "Do you know, like it's not going to affect you guys." Yeah, but unfortunately, I can't say the same for other people. Yeah.
And maybe in 10 years' time, when you're truly ingrained in the New Zealand culture and you are one of them 100%, then you'll have that attitude. Oh, tree just missed me. I'm all right. Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, well, it's one for the kids, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the other things I'd like to talk about, Ben, is the customer experience, and how. Well, first of all, how is it that you differentiate yourself from other companies? How do you give customers, the best possible experience?
So how do we differentiate? So obviously there's a few of us over here now, business-wise. I think there's a similar level of expertise. It's a higher level now because each company's got a certain level of expertise. I think we differentiate. We kind of always call. So I'm never off the phone. Never stop talking about how to fix something that they've got an issue with. Uh, I used to beat around the bush about the issue they used to have. You know what I mean? I'm trying to help them, like go around the corner and see what can I do for you here. Now we don't. I'm very strict. I go straight to the point. The legislation says this. You got to follow the legislation. And it's remarkable because you think your entire career that these people don't want to hear the problems they've got in relation to legislation. But actually, that's what they're paying you for. They want you to tell them, are they breaking the law or not breaking the law? And I think that's kind of what differentiates us as a business. And we work pretty hard. Like these floods, like we've got quite a few jobs tomorrow. We don't stop. We've worked every weekend for the past 4 weekends trying to get reports out same day. Julie's obviously she's pregnant, so and she's still working. Now I can't ask any more of that. To be honest, I don't know many people will be doing lab analysis while they're still pregnant, while they're pregnant. You know what I mean? So like we work pretty hard. So I think our culture of drive is kind of hopefully what differentiates us from other businesses. And we're a family as well, so we help each other. So if something goes wrong, the other one picks the other one up. We just keep going. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can totally imagine that you're constantly on the phone, Ben, because when we started up working together, I remember we had a lot of conversations, and I get the feeling that you like to really get to know your clients and things like that.
I do.
So,
Yeah.
do you find that you're always giving your clients that value add, that extra sort of je ne sais quoi, the extra thing? If they're I'm sure they ask you about all sorts of different issues.
Yeah.
Probably some of them asbestos related, some of them not.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to feel like if someone rings me with any problem, whether it would be something you know about nuclear reactors, I'll still be on Google looking at it. You know what I mean? I would try my best to try and help them. I'm not going to go and touch it, but like, I can help you. I can help you with that. Help you find the right person who can help you. We have a main client trial group who I really respect. To do a lot of deconstruction work and recycling, waste management, and whoever they got a problem and they give it to me, I never say to them, oh, you can't. I don't know if I can do that. It's always, I'll try and find you a solution, but it might not be me who gives you the solution. So I like to surround myself with people who possibly could help other people. If that makes sense. So I might not be the person giving you the service, but I'm the person who's giving you the link to the person with the service. So I do try and help people on different levels here, especially in areas that I'm not entirely comfortable with. Yeah.
It's great, Ben. I actually love chatting to our customers on the phone. I find out some really cool things about them. Like, I know that one of our customers likes growing tomatoes. I know that another one likes race car driving and this kind of thing. And I like sort of really getting to know someone in that way. And yeah, it's probably my most enjoyable part of my job, I would say.
Yeah, you're a bit of a communicator as well, eh? You like to link between people. You've helped me in a lot in the past when you've linked me up to different organizations to be able to help me in certain ways in the business. So we thank you for that as well. Yeah, so that's something that you must do quite a bit with all your
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I used to have not a sale. Everyone's got a sales pipeline, right? I used to have the similar pipeline for just helping people. So like if someone asked me something, I'd pop them in my
Yeah.
support pipeline. I'd want to help them out, and I think it's important to give back and sort of do what you can for your
I agree.
network as well.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Um, so I'd like to ask you a bit about reporting, Ben. Obviously,
Hmm.
you create a lot of compliance reports,
Yep.
asbestos surveys. I think you do four stage clearances as well, do
Yep.
you?
Yeah, we do.
And
Yeah.
what and obviously mold and other industries too. What do you think makes a good survey or compliance report?
To the point and good recommendations with in relation to interpretation of data and results. So you can provide a compliance report that's got all the legislation in the world, but the legislation in the world and every bit that you need to follow, and someone could go fall off the chair and boredom. You know what I mean? But if you're providing a report of the issues they've got and the how to fix them, and it's very clear, like Flow does quite well. We get fantastic reviews from you guys on all your reports, and it's really easy for me to do my job to tell them legislation wise why they need to do it, because they don't like looking through the Health and Safety at Work Act or the Approved Code of Practice and looking at page 72, section 18 point whatever it is on four-stage clearances. Or you know what I mean? They don't like that. They like to know the issue they've got and how to fix it so they can get on to the next step. Most of the time, it's building a new property, or how do we knock this building down to use the land for like a car park or something along those lines, or how do we transport our house off the property. So they just want a quick, easy, something to look at report with the person on the other end going, hey, here's your remove list, we can clear it, done, finished within 2 weeks. Yeah, and that's what Flow does quite well. Yeah, it allows us to give the reports.
Well, that's all my mega brain of a brother, I think, in his experience. He's learned a thing or two, I think. Yeah, we're always trying to improve our asbestos survey reports and what have you. And I think, to be honest, a lot of that improvement comes from our clients and speaking to our clients and
Yeah,
figuring out what it is we need to do. Yeah, I'm very excited to see where they go. But clarity, like you say, is our number
yeah,
one goal too. You got to make things clear, and the best reports I see have those clear recommendations, and not just recommendations. If it's like you need to have this asbestos removed, it's like
mm,
by who, and
yeah,
when, and this
yeah,
kind of thing. Just going into that level of detail.
yeah, and also photos, like photos everywhere. Like it's incredible, like how many times someone looks at a survey report and says, I can't see where's that. What is that photo? You know what I mean? And like if having multiple photos or an ability to add more photos, like sometimes we use the floor plan mechanism just to add photos and just mark out areas where the issue is. So just make it so simple for them to look at, even if they don't use you again after that, they can still understand the next step. Yeah. And that's really important. That's something that you guys do really well. Your photos are fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, we always save the really high resolution images so you can zoom right in and get all that detail and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then we compress it down for the reports to make them smaller because some of those reports can be absolutely huge. um, so You've just given me a brilliant idea for a feature, by the way, in the product, talking about the
Uh,
multiple photos there. So I actually need to speak to David about that because I didn't realize you were using the floor plan upload feature to do that. So
yeah.
to upload those extra detailed photos. So yeah, I'm just going to keep that in my brain for later. Um, I'd like to ask you just what floor plan software do you use, Ben? And can you give me a reason why? I guess you've probably tried a few in the industry.
We use Room Sketcher, but that's because I just haven't had the time to check out any others. I actually just find Room Sketcher to be quite clear, so you can use the external walls, internal walls as doors. You can just it's quite simple. I, I mean, I'm open to ideas with floor plan. Floor plans I've used many in the past, and they all seem to very similar. I'm still yet to find a floor plan software that I just go, you know what, that's a Flow Mobile. And that it's so easy to use. I can do a floor plan in 2 minutes, and I'm done. It's surreal how difficult it seems to find. I don't know if you've had any experience, or you have had experience, obviously, or specific ones that you've looked at. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get asked this question a lot, which I guess is why I'm asking you the question. So part of the reason we get asked this a lot is because Flow doesn't currently have an
No.
inbuilt floor plan drawing tool. It's something that my brother David previously built for Lucian Environmental, where he built the
Yeah.
next gen software. And what he found was, even though he'd built this all singing, all dancing floor planning tool, that the surveyors actually preferred doing the on-site sketch and then drawing the plans up in the office later on. And a lot of them, I think nowadays, actually have their own preference for software, whether it be Visio or Room Sketcher or Floor Plan Creator or whatever it is. They tend to have their own way of working. Like I say, Lucian, that was the fastest way that he found that surveyors like to do their plans. We may come back around to it and actually create our own floor plan drawing tool. I think the thing there is it kind of feels like a bit of a distraction right now because it is the core product, but it's not. It's something else. So we need to figure out like, is the core product built to the point now where we can do these other things and like where we can actually justify that time. So it's funny. I think 80% of our clients are like totally fine with the fact that they use a third party app, and then we've got maybe 20 who are like, you need to build this. It's like blah blah blah. It's something
Yeah.
you guys have to build. So we kind of like accommodate the 80% for now, and then once we've got a bigger team, we can focus on the 20 if that makes sense. But
For me personally, and for us personally as a company, we don't ever think, "Oh, I wish Flow had a floor plan system." Uh, we always wish, like we wish Flow we had an invoicing system. We had Flow. I mean, there's loads of things that Flow we wish we have, but we have other software that can help us mitigate that. Uh, I mean, realistically, only quickest way I could see floor plans, especially in housing, is if you had a sketching system where you sketch the floor plan out, you scanned it in under software, and it just, when it creates it for you. Because I don't think any other way will will be benefit like will be quick to then just sketching it on site, scanning it in, and then it does it for you. Because it's always going to be tedious and long to draw a floor plan. It's not. It's just one of those things. It's been that since since I was a junior surveyor to 12, 13 years ago. So you know that it's just it's what you have to do. It's just is what it is. Yeah.
it's interesting, and actually, a lot of what you said there aligns with some of David's ideas around that. Yeah, we'll have a longer conversation about that sometime. But we are expanding the team soon, so we can start kind of thinking more and more about these extra things. So I'd like to just get some of your insights, Ben, just in general about your own journey. Like what has been your most challenging or painful time? When you've been maybe starting your businesses or working in them, and yeah, if you just kind of elaborate on that, that'd be amazing.
Yes. So if when you start and you've got all this drive and you've got these goals. I want to be a Lucian, let's say example or something like that. in New Zealand specifically, I find that you get drained out and you start because you take too much on yourself and you're more or less training people around you, and your expectation is that they're at the same level that you are. And that is the biggest challenge that I had personally. It's about faith. So you look at your team and you think to your team, oh, do you know they're doing so well one day. Then you look at the day and say, God, I wish I just had 5 surveyors from the UK. Do you know what I mean? But that's actually not true in your heart, because the benefit that we have now is that we have seen people grow, and it's just about me having faith in the system and the processes that Julie specifically has helped me put in place, because she's very quality driven. So that is the biggest challenge for us personally, and for me personally, was just waiting, because I don't like to wait for things. I'm not a waiter. I wish I could just run. Like, we've had to wait a year and a half just to sort. Like, now we've got a fully competent team. Now that doesn't sound like a long time, but actually in reality for me it is.
In
During that,
Ben years,
yeah,
that's an
yeah,
eternity.
yeah, it's eternity. Yeah, I wanted 3 months and I wanted 5 competent assessor surveyors out there taking over Auckland. Do you know what I mean? And like, but that's not going to happen. Like, and you've got to be realistic. So yeah, so that is probably the biggest problem, is myself. Actually, my expectation. Other problems, no, apart from getting equipment's a shocker over here. You can't get equipment, you can't get lab supplies. It's very difficult to source good suppliers over here. There's one company that I know of that only do everything in relation to face fits, and they just do everything. Do you know what I mean? It's just one company. It covers the entire New Zealand. And yeah, great guys. I love them. Oh, I went to see some of them today. Wonderful guys, but you know, what I mean, there's not that resources that we have in the UK, and that's a big issue. So then you're waiting even more, which is more stressful for me, because I'm waiting for things to come in the post from America or the UK, and I'm like, and then the couriers go down because it's New Zealand. So yeah, so there is it's more it's more waiting. I think that's my own personal hatred of waiting for things. Yeah, that's both.
I love that, Ben. Can you think of a time, like, in your working career where you've had like that all-time low, where things have just bottomed out, and how have you overcome that?
Yeah, when I used to work for a company in the UK, I say Bureau Veritas, I did a lot of travel. I was a senior consultant, so I had to go everywhere, and I don't know what happened, but mentally I just fizzled out. This was just before I came to the UK. Sorry, UK to New Zealand, and I fizzled out, and I went to an all-time low. Uh, if I'd not come to New Zealand, and I'm adamant of this, and I'd stayed in the UK, I wouldn't be in this industry. The industry in the UK, I don't know what you would talk to a lot of people in there. It's very demanding, very, very demanding of experienced people and surveyors, because people are expected to drive a ridiculous amount of kilometers and miles in a short space of time and do a lot of work. And then 2015, when I spoke to my mum and dad and said, I'm going to go to New Zealand, and they laughed at me. I was like, all right. They thought I was joking. And then I ended up a month later on a plane, and mum was like, you actually are going to New Zealand? Yeah. That was the best decision I've ever made in my life, because it took me to another place with a different philosophy in life, and made me realize that I was making so many mistakes as a person by just hammering work, and I wasn't appreciating what was around me. So you come to New Zealand and there's beaches everywhere. You look at everything. Oh, everything's so beautiful. Yeah, but then you speak to a Kiwi and it's like just the same. It's like tomorrow, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, so, but to me it was like, oh wow. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that was the lowest part, was 2015, and I couldn't really fathom why I felt so low. But then maybe it was just time for a change. Yeah, and I did it. Yeah, so that was probably it.
A change is as good as a rest, they say. And my wife once had an interview where she was asked why she wanted to move into a role which was the same salary, and it was just a sidestep basically. And she said, well, sometimes a plant just needs another window. It just needs to be on another window. I love that.
That's
So maybe
fabulous,
you just
isn't
need to be on another window, Ben.
it? Probably, yeah, yeah. That's a great saying. That I'll use that one. I'll use that in the future and pretend that it's mine.
You can have that,
Yeah.
Ben. Don't worry. So tell me, Ben, what are the biggest lessons you've learned since starting up your own asbestos surveying company, or asbestos services company, rather?
The biggest lessons. So, then that's probably that policy and procedures are the most important things that you possibly you need to you need to focus on, because if you've got the right procedures and the right policies and the right mechanisms as a business, you can then go on to do what you want. Yeah, that is the biggest lesson. When I first came here, I was a bit. I've tried to do it my own way, or everything didn't understand policy and protocol and as much as I should have done. That's the biggest. And since I met Julie, Julie's a lab analyst and lab manager by trade. She is wonderful of making me realize how wrong I've been doing things for the past previous 10 years. Yeah, because all she did was put things onto a piece of paper, made it very, very simple, and made everyone do it. And then everyone turned around and went, well, that's quite easy to follow. And then when you didn't do it, she'd just slap you on the wrist and say, that's it. No more. You need to continue to do this. And if you do that every day, and it's repetitive, and your business, people around you are doing it, like people like structure. And if people have got structure, then those people, they just do the job and go home and feel safe and feel comfortable. If I'm coming in and I'm creating havoc, you go in here, you're doing this, you go into Wellington, this, before they've even done the jobs in Auckland, you put your lab samples over here, you don't do this and you do that. And they look at me and you think, oh, is this crazy pommy git again who's just not he doesn't know what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's all about structure and policy and procedure, and that is probably the biggest lesson. Yeah. And the other lesson is since opening a business, patience. Like I said to you earlier, I had no patience before. I've had to learn to have patience, even if it means going to bed, so I don't drive myself crazy and get some sleep.
I love that, Ben. Yeah, I remember in those early days you rarely slept. And talking about boundaries, you either fall into two camps, don't you? Boundaries are for prisoners, or boundaries keep you safe. I'm in the boundaries keep you safe category. That's for sure. So what tips would you give to other entrepreneurs who are looking to start their own company and maybe take a similar path to you, Ben?
I mean, I think the best tip would be when I started with Will and Chris and Jake. We failed a lot at the start, and we had a lot of issues at the start, but we never put our head down. It's so easy to go back to work for someone, and because it's the easy rate out. It's like, I've had a bad day, I've got to go and do some invoicing, I've got to be up till 12. You know what I mean? I'm going to work for someone. Get into it. Focus. When you feel down, do something that makes you happy for a moment. You'll forget about it, and just keep going. Keep going. It is the best decision I've ever made. The fact that I can get up in the morning and not feel uncomfortable at work, that I can just go and do the things that I need to do to nurture this business, to be able to provide the goals and set the standard for what we want to achieve, is the best gift that we've worked upon ourselves, because I've never felt so comfortable doing this. And I say this to many people in New Zealand, very good consultants who work for people. It's just like, go and do it yourself. They'll have a bit of a whinge about the job. Go and do it yourself. Oh, it's not easy. I don't have your network or this. My network came from me being a pest. Like my network came from me not putting the phone down. If someone's on the phone, I'm like, no, I'm still going to ring you tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't care what they think. I can give you a good service, so I'm going to try and give you that service, even though you might not want it yet, but you're going to get it. You're going to try and get it anyway. Yeah, but like, it's you just go and do it. You have to go and do it. I actually genuinely believe people regret not doing it in life. Because you can look on the TV, Paul, and you can look at these millionaires that you want. You don't have to be a millionaire. You can just earn good money, and then you can have a good life. And I reckon a lot of I think a lot of people in our industry. I'll ask you this question: do you think a lot more are going self-employed? Because I think they are. A hell of a lot more people.
I've probably got quite a unique perspective on this, to be honest, because I speak to hundreds of surveyors, and I think there's definitely a shift from several big companies dominating the market to lots of little companies going through and maybe more increased competition with lots of little companies. I was thinking about this the other day, and we kind of want to help our clients, the smaller clients, to bid for those bigger jobs as a collective, because I think there's more and more of them. So I would say yes, from my experience over the last few years. I mean, I think I've noticed a shift in even just in that time. And the conversations I have suggest that people are more comfortable starting up on their own, probably because their peers are doing the same and they can see, actually, this guy they used to work with, he started up on his own, he's doing all right. And I think as well, in those bigger companies, the pay tends to be a little bit less, and the hours may be longer. So, I definitely think that there's an advantage to going self-employed in that you can choose your own hours, you can charge more, and have a closer relationship with the clients and things like that. So, I think there's a shift towards that for sure.
But also, also believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that people like a smaller company. They like an underdog. They like this person who's going to drive your report. They don't like the big corporations as much as they used to. Because bear in mind, I've worked for big ones like Lucian. I say Lucian had fantastic setup. I mean, I only had 40 staff when I was there, but they're massive now. But like when they took over the market, you could see that the market was just becoming like one company. It was bizarre, and I don't think people like that. I don't think corporations like that. There's some wonderful clients over here who just want to help us grow because they like us. You know what I mean? People like to see growth from someone taking a chance. That single surveyor out there who's going to go and do my surveys. You know what I mean? Because he's going to put his heart and soul into that. Because he's going to get paid for that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know what it is I find funny is that we've got 160 clients now, and I think every single one of them has my mobile phone number. That is not scalable. That will not scale. That will not scale indefinitely. There will become a point where I have to stop giving out my mobile phone number, because I do it because I like having those conversations and I like having that personal touch. But you know what? I guess after a point, you can't offer that anymore, and that's what you're talking about when you get into these big companies, and it becomes less about the person, the individual, more about the company. So, I'm constantly thinking about how do we retain that personal touch and still scale. That's something I think about all the time.
I mean, if you've got a bit of time, just look at a trial group, deconstruction recycle company in New Zealand, Pacifica company, the wonderful guys at the top, Joe and Saya. Right, they quite a decent sized company now, and they have got a huge personal touch. It's their marketing slash personal marketing makes it feel like they're as big as us. They've got 6 staff. You know what I mean? They've got plenty of staff. They're big on social reward, training and upskilling and making sure people. They're very obviously highly religious, being from the Pacific Islands, which is wonderful. But bizarrely, Sai always gives me a call. This guy works on big projects, and he rings me at night and I ask him a question, and he'll be the first person to call me. So I will contradict you there. Keep doing what you're doing, because I do believe if you stop doing what you're doing, you'll lose. Yeah. You and David designed this product. You need to keep on being there.
For sure. Well, that's why we've made ourselves the brand and the face of the business. To be honest, I think it was funny. We asked our clients why they liked working with us or why they worked with us over our competitors, because obviously there are some entrenched competitors in our space. And they said something that surprised me. A lot of them just said, "Look, we like you guys. We like working with you. We like talking with you." And it wasn't what I was expecting at all. So yeah, it
You're
does
a
go a
bit
long
shocked, were
way.
you? Actually
Yeah, I
enjoy what
mean,
actually enjoy your company when you come to site. You're not, when you come to see them, and they
well,
pay you as well.
I always thought that played a part, but I never thought it was the reason. Like I thought that was
Oh,
quite interesting. Yeah,
hugely human emotion to liking someone is a big step. You could be a bog standard like surveyor, but you've got wonderful communication skills, and you're able to help someone through something just from an emotional point of view, and they would love you to the ground. But then you can go and find someone who can do that bit. You can do that surveying bit because he's already got that connection with the client. Uh, you can't teach that. That has to come from personal experiences, and my experiences are that the people who are very invested in the community tend to be the most successful businesses in the world. I mean, you can see them on social media all the time. Yeah.
for sure. And actually, we've been studying some of our competitors. It's interesting what you're saying there because some of the bigger, more successful competitors actually still act like you say, like a smaller company, or they've got that personal touch in all of their marketing. And I actually, one of the things I don't like is where, you speak to a company and they use all this like weird company jargon and language, and it's like, there's
Yeah.
those things at the end of the emails that make you cringe, and you're like, no one speaks like that, like just
No.
speak like a normal person. Come on, man.
No.
So my
No.
emails often become like, they start like, "Hi mate," or "Hey, how's it going, dude?" Dude, like it's maybe
Yeah.
a bit too informal, but I like it, and that's how I am anyway. So
Well, when I first started doing the email chain thing, back in when I was in my precise days, I used to send some right crap like it'd be so formal, and I get zero hits, and it'd be like, and I get a phone call, and then one day I just sent an email to one of my main clients, Fonterra, and he was like, hey, Carl, are you up to anything, mate? And then as soon as he got email back, and I'm going to a meeting with him, and before you know it, it's just this relationship, and I learned quite quickly that formalization of emails in advertising or marketing or what you're trying to achieve or trying to get leads is just you just be yourself. It's just Ben or it's just Paul. We're just on a podcast together and we're having a good yarn. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't need to be anything more than that. And people love it. I think they enjoy it. Yeah, feel more comfortable.
yeah, for sure. What do you do with the time you save every day using Flow for your reporting, Ben?
Build a business. Talk to clients. Uh, yeah, make sure people know that their report's coming in the next 10 minutes instead of 2 days later after I've changed all the margins or I've changed all the or I've lost the photographs because they're in my camera somewhere. Do you know what I mean? It just you can't put you can't emphasize how good the system is for what we do. And I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your ass, but what I'm trying to say is that you just speed it all up completely. So as a small business, we've been averaging say 15 jobs a day with this insurance work and other stuff coming through. We would never have been able to continue to maintain the release of reports without Flow Mobile, and would have never been able to go out there and then continue contact people because it just allows it's just slick. It just allows us to function at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when everyone's knackered and coming back down, and they just put the rest of the stuff into the report because the lab's finished, and then send it to me for QA. It's like a process of 10 minutes, so they can get 10 reports out between them all very quickly. Whereas if it was back when I was surveying in the UK, or even when I use other softwares, like I'm not going to say because obviously some of your competitors, might be listening, but it was very difficult because you would always have that sync issue, or there would always be that downtime, or God forbid I'd lose all my photos and I'd be like ringing the operations admin up and going, God, you're gonna have to go back to site now. Why? Because all the photos have gone missing. Yeah. Or even worse, when I started in, I used to write down on a piece of paper and I used to take photos, and used to do it in Microsoft Word, so not the old Microsoft Word as well, which froze every time he sneezed. You know what I mean? So like,
Showing your
yeah.
age now, Ben.
So like, yeah, it just it makes you able to actually go and business develop. Yeah, and I love the fact that it doesn't when it goes offline on site, you can still do your work. Yeah, there's no lag. There's no internet. You know what I mean? No signal or whatever. You know what I mean? You've got to wait in your car until you find some signal and put the phone up in the air, like trying to find in the middle of a. Because New Zealand is basically a desert in most of the places. You know what I mean? So you don't have much signal, and so flow is perfect for New Zealand. You know what I mean? So yeah. So to me, it's helped significantly in our business development. Yeah.
That's awesome to hear, Ben. I love that, and especially about the sync and the offline working, because that's something we've worked hard to get
Yeah.
right. What impact do you think Flow's had on the day-to-day running of your company? I think you've kind of answered that, but I'd love to hear a bit more about just like, what was it like before? What's it like now?
Yeah, so day to day, obviously we've got two sides, lab and consultancy. The lab's able to get reports out very quickly, and they look good, which is the best thing about it. Sometimes the data might not be as much as how good the report looks, but no, they're able to get the report out quick, efficiently. There's no need for formatting, and that is very important for a laboratory. Because in a laboratory, if you have an IELTS or UCAS audit and you haven't got consistency with your reporting, and they pick it up on the audit, and in the future, I mean, it's a non-conformance, and then they could even go back through and look at all your reports. So Flow does give you that benefit. For the consultancy, like I said earlier, day to day, the guys can go to site. There's no sync issues. They can do the reports. They can even ring the office, ring our lab office manager, Jane. Can you just finish this report off for us? She can send it to the client or me to QA. And I can put my QA signature in. Oh, Bob's your uncle. It's gone. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no stress with it. And I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I've messaged you at 4 a.m. saying, Paul, your system's gone down. You know, I mean, it's probably not even one hand, it's probably just one finger. Yeah. I don't think it's happened in the last 2.5 years. So, yeah. Sorry, day to day, it's had massive benefits for us. Yeah. And
That's awesome. I remember those 4 a.m. WhatsApp messages, Ben. I've got to be honest, it feels like a long time since you sent one, so we must be doing something right.
I think you just started ignoring me now, so it's like...
Yeah, there was a bit of that. We didn't have many clients back then, so yeah, it's harder to ignore them. Yeah, that's awesome, Ben. I really love to hear that. And what would you say is if me and David, disappeared into a puff of smoke and Flo was no longer here? What's the one thing you'd miss the most about Flo or working with us, or any ideas?
I was obviously talking to you and David, mate. Yeah. Yeah, just like I said to you earlier, the biggest thing you'd miss is the ability to get reports out from your system, and the fact you guys are pretty cool. So if ever I do have many of my changes that I've sent to Mark, I'm surprised he's not killed me. I'm glad he can't get over here, so he probably would have killed me if I was in the UK. Your responsiveness is wonderful. You even one of our consultants, Manny Namir, actually mentioned to me the other day. He said we're using another system for our ISO, and he said the responsiveness comparison is it's chalk and cheese. You guys will respond 8 a.m., which is obviously 9 p.m. at night, sometimes even earlier, immediately. Where sometimes we can't even get responses on the system on that we're currently going through. So in the daytime, which is their daytime. So yeah, you guys do a lot for customer service as well. So you're always there when we need you. Yeah, and you always help. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Ben. That's really awesome to hear. I actually think out of our 160 clients, you may be either number 1 or 2 in terms of support requests. That's great. Don't take that the wrong way. I love that, because it means you're super engaged. To be honest,
Yeah.
it's, you're helping us build our product and our platform and giving us feedback and suggestions. I think you're probably one of the only companies who, has had that level of sort of changes and what have you. But I think that's because you were here in the really early days and you know what's possible. I think a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
other people maybe just don't know what's possible to the same level. So you're like, I'm pretty sure I can do this. I'll just ask the guys,
Was it those days when I used to stay in our old house in Iraqi, which is obviously just near Mission Bay, and then I used to call you and you were in your kitchen or you in your room and you were just showing me the new Flow mobile map, and I was just fascinated that I could take a photo on my phone. This is before obviously you really got started, and it just showed on the front cover page immediately. And I always remember that. I used to say to Julie, "Have you seen this? It actually changes when I take the photo." And she's like, "Oh, are you sure they're just conning you? I mean, like, are they just changing it why you there?" And I said, "I don't think so. I could change it to anything." She didn't know I tried to take a photo of her, and then she got quite angry with me. So yeah, I think I always remember those days. Yeah, they were great.
What's hilarious about that, Ben, is there was a lot of smoke and mirrors back in those days. But actually, that wasn't one. That wasn't one of them. The real time data sync was always there. So there was a lot of like, oh, this person's asked for this thing. Quick, build it. Like
You build it now. Yeah. Oh, I'll definitely do that. Yeah, you know what I mean. My number one support person over here wants changes every 5 seconds.
Yeah. Sometimes you've got to show someone, something that looks like it could work before you realize, like, should we actually build it or not? You make a little mock up, and then, if someone says, "Oh, that looks great," oh, quick, build it.
Well, you had me hooked on the fact that I could change the cover photo on the laptop on my phone, was it just automatically changed. So in my head, even though if the system was crap, which obviously it's not, I was just fascinated that you could do that. I would have pestered you to understand how you managed to do that.
Oh, it was very, you're not wrong, Ben. It was very janky back in those days. It's come a long way.
No, it's come a long way, mate. It's good. A really good system.
Yeah, we've got some exciting stuff coming too. So I've really enjoyed this interview, Ben, and if there's anything else you want to ask, go ahead, but I am desperate for a wee, so I'm probably going to shoot off.
My partner is heavily pregnant. Will probably wonder why I'm still here at 20 to 12, so I probably need to go and say hello to her. Yeah. Well, it's been great talking to you anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thanks so much for your time today, and it's always good catching up with you.